You think you can just use my daughter as free labor? I slammed the crumpled chore list onto the table, my gaze unwavering. 3 days later, they were standing in front of me, disheveled, phones unreachable, helpless, finally tasting what it feels like to be controlled. That day, Mara's voice exploded in the living room. Who do you think you are? She stood with her hands on her hips, eyes fixed on me like I was a late servant, radiating that familiar superiority she's carried since childhood. I sat on the couch, holding Annie in my arms, her shoulders trembling. My 9-year-old's eyes were swollen and red, her dress wrinkled and stained, hands scraped and raw. The air smelled faintly of bleach, mixed with the remnants of last night's tears. Mara stood at the doorway, her daughters, Bella and Kenzie, behind her, looking timid and ashamed. They carried their pajama bags, eyes glued to the floor, avoiding both me and Annie. We're going out for a bit. You stay and finish the list, Mara said, pointing to the paper on the table. Bella's handwriting, decorated with hearts and stars, outlined hours of chores. Scrub the floors, wash the dishes, tidy the playroom, wipe the hallway, clean the sink and baseboards. For a child, this wasn't just work. It was punishment disguised as a game. I gripped Annie's small hand, my chest tightening. The sight of a child forced to labor while the adults treated it as a joke ignited a familiar anger buried deep within me. 3 days earlier, my daughter had finally been invited to the long-awaited pajama party. Mara's annual extravaganza for her own daughters, carefully decorated snack bars, custom gift bags, crafts, even matching outfits. Annie had marked every day on the calendar, covering them with colorful stickers, each star a tiny explosion of excitement. I thought this time she would be accepted, that she would have a night all her own. Reality was cruel. Mara and her daughters left Annie behind, scrubbing the kitchen and living room, while Bella and Kenzie went off for ice cream and a movie. My daughter's hands were raw, tears streaming down her face, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit, the only anchor she had. They said I don't belong with them, Annie whispered, her voice trembling. They said I have to earn my place. Earn what place? She handed me the crumpled list. I looked at the handwriting and felt it echo the past. Years of scrubbing, washing, cleaning Mara's room. Just because I was born into the family and she was the natural ruler. I knew I couldn't let history repeat itself with my daughter. Memories surged like a tide. Growing up, Mara's 3-year advantage made her royalty in our household. She commanded, I obeyed. Every protest drew my parents scolding. They always trusted their eldest's judgment, thinking I was overly sensitive. I was trained to comply silently, to bury my anger. As an adult, the pattern continued: money, time, work. Mara needed cash, I lent it. She needed help, I dropped everything. My parents assumed I'd handle every emergency. I became the family's all-purpose tool. Unpaid medical consultant, free babysitter, ATM. Until Annie. Seeing Annie clutch that list, I understood. This cycle had to end with me. I started with financial control. I froze Mara's extra credit card, canceled auto transfers. She messaged, "You're always free on Wednesdays." I didn't reply. Next, I refused childcare requests. Her husband called. I didn't answer. Each push, each demand I met with calm silence. 3 rings from the school notifying me the kids were waiting. I told them, "I'm not late. They didn't plan properly." Panic and anger began to surface in Mara. She realized for the first time that without me, she had to take responsibility herself. Small disruptions started to ripple through her life. Missed appointments, poor babysitters, food mishaps, lost children. Each one a reflection of the hardships I endured, now returning to her world. The family conference call came, Mara and my parents applying pressure, but I remained composed. "This is information, not an excuse," I said coldly. "You know we need you," Mara yelled. "No. I only know you've used me enough, I replied. Silence on the other end. They didn't understand. I was no longer the child who complied unconditionally. The following weekend, Mara tried to drop her children at my doorstep again. Briella and Kinsey stood on the steps, pajama bags slung over their shoulders, small faces confused and apologetic. I let them inside, but made sure Annie knew her safety and routine wouldn't be compromised. I called CPS, placing the children with professionals to ensure their care. Mara posted on social media about her adult party, while her kids faced the consequences, lonely, confused, waiting. Months later, everything quieted. Annie laughed more, shared little details about school and life. I slept easier. Life began to belong to us. Mara's world began to shrink. For the first time, she realized that without me, she couldn't rely on anyone. The panic and helplessness that came with dependence made her tremble, even beg. But I no longer responded. I no longer fixed her messes, bought her things, or carried her burdens. Her accustomed power was stripped away. Every unanswered call, every refused request was a message. Your world of dependency is gone, and I won't be part of it. Annie and I sat in the kitchen eating ice cream. Sunlight fell across her face, her smile bright and free. "Can we always stay like this?" she asked. I nodded, squeezing her hand. "Of course we can." From that day forward, life belonged only to Annie and me. Mara and her family finally experienced what it's like to bear responsibility, unshielded, unassisted. My revenge wasn't violent. It was precise, calm, and complete. Boundaries that dismantled years of habitual exploitation. It wasn't dramatic, but it cut deeper than any anger could. Wrongdoers face the consequences they cannot control, and my daughter and I finally gained our freedom. Ending. Mara's world began to crumble. Her panic and helplessness intensified day by day. Her attempts to persuade, threaten, or pressure me yielded nothing. For the first time, she understood that controlling others comes at a price, and I was no longer the one to bend. Annie's laughter replaced tears. My life was finally mine. Revenge was a quiet, powerful declaration of rights, the end of past oppression, and the beginning of a new life.